Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks, but we've got a lot to get through. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the breakdown with your host, Base the Kid, Tony, the Pugilist Boy. We are the children of the game. Now, Tony, I know you're busy doing something over there at the moment, but how are things? How have you been? How has your weekend been? How has your week started? Are we ready?
Well, my week has been very busy. As you probably notice, change of setting. So the reason for that, quite simply, is I'm looking after my great aunt, and I've had to come and move in. So just so happens that I'm here just for today. So settings will be replenished back next week. Um, but yeah, it's been one hell of a weekend in the world of boxing. We've had a lot of action going on in terms of fights to talk about. There's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in boxing, so there's been a lot of talking points. Monday Night Smoke, which became Tuesday Night Smoke, um, was hella mad last night. Um, and yeah, let's get into it because we got a lot to break down.
We
First
have
things
indeed.
first, though.
So let me. I'll do the honors. I'll do the honors.
Okay, nice.
All right. So first off, welcome Uncle Jonah. Welcome Hot Prize, Dan the Man, SC15, the hardest working guy on Twitter. Muller Muller, Mr. Ever Present. Big ups to you, salute, and congrats from Crystal Palace yesterday. Fight Fan TV Live, Danny, big up to you, salute again. Congratulations for your victory over me the weekend, the one that you only get. So, revel in this and let's be joyous. Bruce Kai, aka the accountant with the receipts, big up. And Skyliner, the editor, salute to you. That's everyone who's in the chat at the moment. As more and more people come in, I will be saluting and giving my hair ups to everyone else. But yes, we are going to start. Now, I want to start from the main talking point and then transfer down. You saw the list that I put out. Is that where we're going, or do you want to do something a little different today?
You know what? Did I see your list? Is it a new
Probably
one?
not. All right, we'll
Give me the
we'll go
fight
with
then.
whatever you've
Tell me
got.
where you want to start, and
I
we'll
mean, we
get
need
to.
to start with Shields Marshall. Like we just go for
Okay,
the jugular straight.
let's get in amongst it. Let's get in amongst it. So
We don't even need footage. I'll just talk. I don't mind. I'll literally come off watching the fight again just before the show. So, as we all know, 5 week delay. We don't know how that affected both ladies, sorry, whether it affected them positively or negatively, but the fight itself most definitely delivered. As you can see, Clarissa came in looking rather stunning to the venue. She came in looking like she had no fears in the world, came in doing a dance at ringside. I mean, we've seen her do it before, but I've never seen her do it like for her biggest fights. So that just tells me that yeah, she really thought this one was in the bag. And credit to her, she got the victory. So I want to talk a little bit about how I saw this fight. Now, contrary to a lot of other people watching the fight, I actually scored it very close and very competitive. Now, with me, I always say one of two things. I can say a fight is competitive, but one person dominated. But then if a fight to me is close, then that means it could have gone either way with not particularly anyone necessarily being able to moan about the result and how it went down. So the first 4 rounds of this fight, while I didn't give them all to Clarissa, that was her best part. That was her best part of the fight overall. What she done, very smart. She did a very what we will call a raiding style throughout the majority of the rounds, where she would get on her bike, get past the angles, get past the lazy jab of Savannah, and then quickly raid the inside, and then put her shoulder into Savannah's shoulder just to be able to take a little bit of the range away from her shots. Uh, During all of that time, she would then, particularly as you can see, and through some of those shots there, she would, because her hands are naturally faster, naturally shorter, she was maybe landing two or three, or at least throwing two or three, maybe landing one, might be missing the other two, but it was keeping Savannah busy throughout the whole time. She had to worry about defense more than she could apply her offense. So Clarissa was incredibly smart in that sense, especially in the first half of the fight, and that's pretty much what managed to get her the victory. From round 5 onwards, I would say that there it was a lot. It was a lot less clear cut as to who was winning each and every round, because even though Clarissa might have been doing a little bit of additional work in terms of maybe landing the one or two extra shots, they didn't seem to have the same oomph and the same power behind them that they did prior to that. And some people definitely were worried about whether the additional muscle that Clarissa put on for this fight might work against her coming towards the later half of the fight. And clearly, in the corner, you heard Peter Fury on a couple of occasions, along with the second in the corner, say to Savannah, she can't keep up this pace forever. So what they were banking on was for her to gas herself out, tire badly, and then come through the second half of the fight to possibly get a win that way. That is never the best option unless you are literally investing to the body for the whole first half of the fight, even if it's one, two, three shots, similar to how Amanda Serrano was doing against Katie Taylor in their fight earlier on this year. You can't always bank on those tactics, simply because when someone is a world class or even an elite fighter, they know how to get through any crisis. So you've got to stay with them and stay active on them for the entire duration of the bout. You can't do the feeling out process, especially when it's 10 2-minute rounds, as opposed to 12 threes, because that is Clarissa Shields' wheelhouse. Start fast and then just maintain it throughout the rest of the rounds. So that's how I felt. Clarissa basically was able to nullify Savannah on the first half of it. In the second half, when she was actually starting to get really tired, what she actually done, which I thought was very clever, is again she would walk in, and when Savannah was trying to sort of line her up for the shots up top, and then she would dig down to the body, Clarissa would land a quick one to the jaw, like a quick sort of one just upstairs, just so she could basically keep Savannah's mind occupied as to, okay, right now I can't invest too much, because if I do, then I'm gonna get hit more. Whether these punches are hurting, like they're gonna take their toll eventually. So I've got to still stay defensively responsible. And the fact that Clarissa was able to then, as again, keep her shoulder on the inside of Savannah Marshall's shot, when she would angle herself to turn to try and throw the hooks up top, Clarissa would either angle herself in she would angle her shoulder into Savannah Marshall's body so that the punch couldn't get the full torque on it, or she would duck down and dip underneath it, because at that point Savannah was swinging from wide, which was able to, you could see the shot coming a bit quicker, which gave Clarissa Shields a bit more of the opportunity to be able to duck down past it, or to sort of duck out the range of it, or to get the glove up to sort of hold it. So yeah, it was great work by her. And even on the other side, because obviously I've been giving you all of what Clarissa done, but what Savannah did as well, what she started realizing, I think she started realizing it too late, was that going after Clarissa's head wasn't going to work. So you start investing to the body, you start holding her, tying her up, pushing her back to the ropes, make her have to carry your weight. Then you just start letting go little pity patters on the ropes, then landing something nice and hard to the body afterwards, or even something nice and hard up top, just so she doesn't know which shot's gonna be the tap, and which shot's gonna be the dig. And that was the work that she started implementing from round 5 onwards. And yeah, consistently she was making that work. She was making it work. She was definitely getting her work in. And a lot of the rounds that she won, it wasn't because she outlanded Clarissa pretty much outlanded in every round, I think, except one. But the difference is Savannah's all of Savannah's punches had much harder and higher impact on Clarissa than Clarissa's punches were having on Savannah. So I feel that's why a lot of the rounds she was winning due to impact of shots, due to ring generalship, and due to pushing Clarissa back and forcing Clarissa to have to fight on the back foot or fight off of the ropes, which isn't naturally where she wanted to be. Um, so as I said, it was a very close fight overall. I want to give you guys a scorecard I had when I was there live watching it. I had first round to Clarissa, I had second round to Savannah, I had third round to Savannah, I had the fourth round to Clarissa. Then I had the fifth round to Savannah, sixth round to Savannah, seventh round to Savannah, eighth round to Clarissa, ninth round to Savannah, and then the 10th round to Clarissa. That's when I watched it live from behind the ring post. You didn't see any of my footage in the little in the little montage that came up a little while ago. But yeah, from the angle I was at, I saw a lot more of Savannah's work, and again, her pushing Clarissa onto the ropes, keeping her there, sort of, Clarissa having to fight her way off, but ultimately just kind of being bullied in the ring for huge chunks of a lot of the rounds. Watching it at home, I was able to obviously see a lot more of what Clarissa done in there, and it was actually a lot more impressive than what I saw during the arena. So then my scorecard changed a little. So that one, I had that one first round to Clarissa, still gave the second round to Savannah. The third round I had as a swing, so I said, okay, it can go either way. Fourth round to Clarissa, and then I had the fifth round even. Sixth round I had to Savannah. Seventh round I had to Savannah. Eighth round I had to Clarissa. Ninth round I had to Savannah. And then the 10th round I had to Clarissa. So ultimately, by that logic, with that scorecard, depending on which way you swing the third round to, it was either 96-95 Clarissa or it was 95-96 Savannah. If you decided that no 10-10 even rounds are allowed, whereas our first time I gave the fifth round to Savannah Marshall, I actually then decided, no, you know what? I think Clarissa did just a bit more in that round to give, for Savannah than Savannah did. So I gave it to Clarissa. If I couldn't score that at even, then I actually swung it to Clarissa. So in that instance, that swing round either makes it 96-94 to Clarissa, or it makes it 95-95 a draw. And that was my final scorecard. I've watched the fight back. I just watched it for the seventh time just before we started, and that's pretty much that's the scorecard I've settled on. That's just what I've seen. Either way, you've got, it's like 50% Clarissa, 25% Savannah, and then 25% a draw. That's like the final sort of my final readings on the fight. But that's enough talking for me. Tony's just come back. Whether he's heard what I've said or not is irrelevant. He's gonna give you his thoughts, and then we'll move on after that.
Ladies and gentlemen, so thank you very much for your patience, guys. As Maestro A says, my good friend from New York, teacher fam, hit that smash that like button. In fact, so my thoughts on the fight were, I like that fight. I like that the energy from both participants was extremely high. I like that they knew they had to put it all on the line there and then. There was no, let's take this slow. We're going to hold back in certain rounds. Nah, we got to go out. We got to win every round. There was no occasion where a fighter appeared to take a round off. Something we see a lot happening in the men's game, Fighters, they go 4 or 5 rounds deep and then they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take a round off. Nah, these girls came out and they delivered a fully fledged battle royale for 10 2-minute rounds. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about should they be going to 3-minute rounds? Should they be going to 12 rounds at championship distance? That's all what ifs and maybes. But for the 10 2-minute rounds that we saw that night, I was super impressed because it was an all-action fight. And, bearing in mind that the fight of the year so far up until that point was probably Katie Taylor against Amanda Serrano, this one runs it close. And for me, this one exceeds it because your two combatants were toe-to-toe in the fight for all 10 rounds. Whereas with Serrano versus Taylor, Serrano was easily the winner up to a certain point. But when Katie Taylor takes over, Serrano she's not as prevalent in the fight to me. Obviously, that's my subjective view. So the fact that these two combatants in Marshall and Shields were combative in every single round of the 10 rounds means that this fight for me supersedes the Serrano Katie Taylor fight for fight of the year. I enjoyed every minute of it. It might be that, I enjoyed it more because I was there and I was close to the action. And I've got far more personal investment in the two fighters than I did in Serrano and Taylor. So that I'm sure bias my opinion on the particular fight. But in terms of your breakdown, which I was still listening to you, even though I wasn't present, I'm pretty much happy with what you said. The in-between punching, it's exactly what Shields practiced. You could see she had the game plan to a T. Hats go off to John David Jackson, her trainer. He devised a plan and she executed it perfectly. Of course, hats go off to John Fury and to Savannah Marshall because
Peter Fury.
Dave Fury, sorry. They didn't make it easy for Clarissa. They made sure that their girl came out and worked hard and, she got her success in the fight. And of course, Clarissa, in saying that this was her fight, her toughest fight of her life, that's what we expected. We expected both guys to be able to say, I left it all out there and it was the toughest fight of my life. And they both said that. So very much pleased with the action. I'm going to go into the chat to see if anyone's got anything to say.
Before you do that,
Okay.
So one thing I want to say quickly. So with regards to, obviously, because I remember October was saying yesterday, like, why do we have to compare the two women? Like, why can't they just this is her moment, let her have her moment, let Katie and them have their moment from before. I agree, but with regards to obviously what you just said, I feel like it deserves a reply. It was a great fight. It was, as you said, it was toe to toe. It was a tactical battle, but it was a war of attrition. Whereas I actually feel Taylor Serrano was a better fight overall, only because it had a little bit of everything. So it had Katie Taylor basically boxing, sort of sticking and moving, boxing brilliantly for the first 3 rounds. But it had Serrano slowly trying to just chip away at her, dig to the body, try to slow down the legs. Then it had Katie Taylor having to come through a crisis in rounds 4, 5, and 6, wondering, is she about to get knocked out, almost out on her feet, but she's still swinging for dear life. Then it comes back. Then she manages to get her composure and go back to sort of sticking and moving to just rack up the last couple of rounds, to then finally having an all-out war between rounds 9 and 10. So it literally had a little bit of every single facet of boxing. So it was, whereas this one, I feel like, even though it was highly skilled, it was a very one-dimensional type of fight. It was all in close. It was just a big battle. Whereas that one, there was like multi layers of intrigue going through it. That's my only pushback to what you said. But overall, like I said, if you're gonna look at them in terms of grading, they're both like A-star fights. So it's like 1A, 1B, or 1A and 1AA, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to the chat, please.
Yeah, so as I said, I did feel that Katie Taylor and Serrano was the fight of the year up to this point. And yeah, you're right. 1A, 1A, AA, it is that kind of closeness in terms of who was better out of the two fights. Clarissa seemed like she was setting the pace and fighting on her terms rather than Marshall trying to be reactive and not being as effective as she should have been at long range. Marshall has a somewhat dainty looking long range attack, because she does this thing where her feet move like this in a rhythm, and then she sticks that jab and she approaches and she kind of pulls it out. She doesn't actually stick it. Now, considering she had the length advantage, if she had, and I will always revert to this whenever I'm talking about jabs, I will always revert to the late, not the late, he's still alive, the great Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes's jab to me is the archetypal jab. Of course, you can talk to other people like Thomas Hearns has a fantastic jab, and there are others. But Larry Holmes used to be on his toes in a way that Hearns didn't used to be. And he would throw the jab, and his whole body would be tilted at an angle towards his foe, and the long arm would be extended at its maximum length. He might catch you at the 3/4 end of the jab and push you back the last quarter of it. It was that solid a jab, but it was such a beautiful jab. And it's funny because I was in the gym yesterday talking to some fighters about how to throw their jabs. And I'm always explaining, you want to be catching your opponent on the 3/4. And if your jab is falling short, what does that tell you? Your feet aren't close enough to your opponent. So with Savannah Marshall, something that has become prevalent to me, technique-wise, is that her jab through the whole 10 rounds starts off short, and then she moves in as she throws the second and third jab. Yeah. And that to me is wasted effort. Yeah. Because what you want to be doing is you want to be moving and engaging at the point when your feet are close enough to hit the opponent. If you're starting to throw punches before you're able to actually hit the opponent, that's a waste of movement. Yeah. If you look at Floyd Mayweather, perfect example. He doesn't throw punches where he can't hit you. The feet have to be in a position where you are able to engage with the opponent. If you're too far away and you're throwing punches, that's a waste of effort. So there's that, but there's also the footwork itself. I think I saw somebody else mention this in their fight breakdown, but Kate Savannah Marshall, her footwork is not quite on point, and it kind of, she dances in and she moves her feet, and they're not quite in sync with her upper body and what's going on there. So very often she's throwing shots and her feet aren't quite set. She might be on one foot or the other, or they might be in a slightly inopportune position to be throwing maximum weight. Because what you always want to be having is the front foot in front of the back foot, front foot pivot facing the opponent, back foot to the right, and I'm in the center line. Yeah, that's where I want to be. And I want to be throwing that jab, and it wants to be hitting you there and then crossing when the right hand comes. Whereas her, she kind of pours summer, moving around, pours summer, and then she gets hitting, and then she throws in that right. Great with the right hand, very efficient with her right hand, but the pouring is some, I kind of noticed it tells the opponent, I'm about to throw the right hand. So what that is, and this becomes more apparent in the Baumgardner fight, because what you're doing is, if I see this, crack. Yeah, I see this, boom, pour. I know what you're going to do. You're going to throw a second left and then a right. As you throw that right, crack. I can throw something. Or if I see the jab and the second jab's about to come, crack. Boxing is a game of timing. And that timing is what Clarissa was able to capitalize on, because Savannah Marshall kind of shows you what she's about to do before she does it. Any comeback on that?
No, that's a fair assessment. I guess it just depends. Some people would be able to read it as Clarissa clearly did for long stretches of the fight. Other people may not. Um, whether Ray, whether we call it necessarily like our wasted effort due to that, I mean, she's doing it more so just to like, I guess she just to almost get their attention. I feel like when she does it, it's not about make it like touching them initially. I think it's just getting their attention with this hand. So while you're still wondering, okay, I'm way too far, okay, but I'm a little bit closer now. I'm a little bit closer.
Mm,
Like, okay, so this hand I've got to worry about this. Then all of a sudden she'll switch that angle and then comes in and then either comes in with that straight right or she'll come in with the right hook to the body
mm,
or to the head. And so this whole time you've been thinking, okay, now she's doing this with this. Okay, so I'm about to counter this. I'm about to do something with this one. And all of a sudden that's out of the way now. And this is the hand just over the top. So I feel like it's not even a rangefinder half the time. I feel like it's more of a distraction tool. It's just okay, yeah, it's just here, it's just here. Oh no, but
mm.
there's nothing on that. There's nothing. Bang! Oh, now there might have been something on that one, but
Yeah,
no, and then da. So now you're just wondering about this hand. Now you're trying to
yeah.
combat that. Then all of a sudden, this one comes in, and your focus has been so taken away by this. Um, that's how I kind of see it. Obviously, it wasn't the same with Clarissa because she read it very well throughout the majority of the fight. Um, I mean, she did get hit with she got hit with some shots that I was surprised that she took, if I'm going to be honest. But again, she done very clever things. She arced herself into the range of the shot before it had its necessary torque on it a lot of the time. So apart from the left hook that she took in the fifth round, there was no other time where Savannah actually hit her like full on blooded with a shot like that. How she beat what's her name? What's the last fight she had? You remember the one that she had in the one in Newcastle? Someone in the
I
chat's gonna
can't
have to
remember the
help.
name. I can't remember the
This
name.
always happens to me. I know all the names until I'm get on camera, then the name drops out of my head. But
Mm,
Not Emma Cozen. That was Clarissa. Um, but yeah, that lady. So anyway, the way that how she Femke Hermans, that's it. Thank you very much, Danny. Um, that's how she managed to get that. Like she threw one thing, made her react to that one, and then came back with the full left hook. But it was torqued all the way from the inside of the body, and that's how obviously she took her out clean. Um,
mm,
but Clarissa always stayed just a bit too close for her to be able to do that, or she got out of there just enough time before that was able to happen. And
mm,
then when she was on the ropes, she would, like I said, she would lean into the chest, or she would grab her and then try and just wait for the ref to push them back. Then she would move off the ropes, even though she was getting put back there a lot. Like she felt comfortable enough that, well, your wide swinging shots aren't going to affect me up top because I'm going to be able to kind of nullify those. All I really got
mm,
to worry about is the body shots, but you're not going for the body. You keep trying to
mm,
find spaces for the head. And I feel like that was another thing Savannah done wrong in that fight. If for the whole first half of that fight, if it was me, and look, I'm not a boxer, so but I would have literally everything would have been to the body. I wouldn't have even tried to think about headshots for those first 5 rounds, especially if my whole game plan was to just let Clarissa tire herself out, which is clearly what they were trying to do. So if that's the case, I'm not trying to jab you to the head. I'm not trying to get you with a right. I'm gonna lean on you, I'm gonna push you back, and then I'm just literally I'm digging as hard as I can to the body with every shot I can until the ref tells me otherwise. Yeah, I might have to take a couple up top if I'm not sort of blocking here or there, but that's my game plan. And then sort of from round 6 onwards, now we're gonna start mixing it up to the head. And that's what I would have done, being the bigger person in that fight, if I wasn't going to utilize the jab correctly. But
mhm.
yeah,
Cool.
overall, look, I feel like we've talked on that a lot. Unfortunately,
Yeah, yeah, we have.
I,
Let's
I
move on.
yeah, I did
So,
try to get someone to say, and it's not even the person I told you. That I tried to get someone else to come on for right now, but unfortunately, I was unsuccessful.
no
But
problem.
yeah, let's move on to the co-main or the second
Hmm.
main event of that card. Talk to us.
Okay, so once again, I have to nip away because I had to tend to a very quick task.
Okay.
I've got four or 5 minutes of Baumgardner here.
Okay.
So
I can talk for that. Go on. Yeah.
off
Run
you
it.
go.
Okay. So my own bias aside, let's just say that everyone in the chat, I think we're all happy that Alicia Baumgardner won this fight. But I'm going to try and be as unbiased as I can in talking about how this fight broke down. Now, first things first, when I was in the arena, you can actually see on the screen here, this is my footage that I took. Um, I was directly behind that post. So as you can see, there's a lot of times there it's very hard to see who's doing what and who's actually maintaining until they're either on the left or they're on the right hand side. But I did have it scored with Alicia for the first 2 rounds, and then on my card, unfortunately, the next 4 rounds I gave to Michaela from my vantage point because all I could really see was the jab starting to snap Alicia's head back, and I couldn't actually see the work that Alicia was doing. Um, then obviously the seventh I gave to Alicia, and then the eighth I gave to Alicia, the ninth I gave to Michaela, and then 10th I gave back to Alicia. But let's talk about how I actually saw the fight watching it back on the TV. So for the first few rounds, first things, Alicia, superior athlete, quicker, obviously the harder puncher, but was always good at reacting, was very good. She was setting the pace, but she wasn't just she was waiting for the counter, but she was doing subtle things like she would make that little quick step in to make Michaela May hesitant to throw the jab at times. She was very hesitant to throw that jab because Alicia would just set and make her think that, oh, this shot's about to come. As you just see there, that quick little rotation of the hip with the right hand makes her think, okay, let me not get hit by that because I'm not sure if I can take that one. But she was popping out the jab, and then every time she would try and jab to the body and stab the body and actually give up her height, that's when you could see Alicia, as she just done on the screen there, she would come over the top of the jab and catch Michaela to the top of the head, to the side, or sometimes to the face as well. So this was all basically Alicia's game plan was nullifying everything that every advantage that Michaela had for those first 3 rounds of the fight, whether that was keeping her pushed back or whether that was constantly turning her so that Michaela Mayer wasn't able to actually be able to sit down on any shots and get any real leverage on anything that she was potentially working with. And Alicia was very good at doing that throughout those first 3 rounds. She was landing consistently to the body, as you can see just there. She was also landing up top to the head. Sometimes she was out jabbing Michaela by slightly just stepping on the inside of it and getting her jab off. And her jab was always a lot more powerful. So even if Michaela was like trying to set, you could tell that she was wary of getting hit by that jab because it looked like it was having more effect on her than her jab was having on Alicia in those first couple rounds. And as you can see there, Alicia she was dominating to the body. She was throwing 2 and 3 punch combinations, and every time Michaela Mayer was trying to go for the right hand, anytime she missed that, Alicia came with the left hand dig to the body, to a right hand dig or a right hand over the top, or an overhand right as we'll call it, to the top of the head, making Michaela have to reset and have to rejig, and sort of go back to the first step and plan A and plan B. Now, I think one of the things when I was in the arena, which made it very hard to see some of the work and actually think that Michaela was doing a lot better than she actually was in certain spots, is if you can see Alicia's hair, right? It came out of the bun that it was in. So there was numerous times when she either got hit with something, or even when she rolled with it, there was bare spray flying off of her hair. And the hair's just rocking back and forth to make you think to yourself, oh, yeah, she's getting hit by this. She's getting hit by this. Several times it happened. And at that point, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see. To me, this very much looks like Michaela May has won this fight. And I had it, like I said, I had it 97-93 to Michaela Mayer when I was there watching live, just due to, like I said, my vantage point, not being able to see a lot of the stuff that Alicia was doing, like some of it getting blocked from my position, and then just seeing her head getting popped back with jabs in a lot of the rounds. But Again, when we go back to it, I had it comfortably 96-94 on the other to the other direction, and then Alicia ended up, she gave her the first 3 rounds, gave Michaela the second 3, gave Alicia then seventh and eighth, gave Michaela the ninth because Alicia didn't do much, and then Alicia just nicked the 10th. It wasn't a dominant 10th round for her, but she just about did enough, like heavy shots in order to get that one. And obviously, when you look at the two of them at the end of the fight, while this is never really a huge indicator of who's won, the fact that Alicia's face looked like there wasn't really a mark on it, whereas Michaela's nose looked a little busted up, like she had a cut over her eye. Cheeks were very red. Like it was telling like who was landing the more significant shots at the time. So yeah, overall, that was kind of my thoughts of it. Alicia's superior athleticism and just the general ring IQ, I think, is what took it. It offset a lot of Michaela Mayer's work. And I also think Michaela Mayer didn't, if I'm going to be honest, I don't think she put her all into the fight. I think she really believed that it was going to be a home cooking night for her. So all she had to do was be competitive. She just had to be like consistent throughout rounds, and those rounds were going to be given to her. And I think that's why she took the loss so badly, thinking, "Well, I'm the home fighter. How have I not won this fight when it was, it was close, to some, as some people would look at it." But yeah, what I would say, anyone who has watched it, obviously we know about Sky commentary for both of those fights. It wasn't as bad in the Shields mark. Okay, it wasn't as bad as it was in the Shields and Marshall fight, but it was terrible throughout both. If you can watch the ESPN commentary, because Tim Bradley, um, um, and what's his name, Andre Ward and Christina Poncha, they was actually very balanced in both the fights, and they had both the fights fairly close. And the way they were scoring and the things they were looking and seeing was very much more analytical than just the story narratives that was coming from Sky commentary. But yeah, that's my take on it. I'm gonna let Tony take over, and we'll see what his thoughts on that fight was.
Cool. Well, I didn't say it at the time, but I should go back to the Clarissa Shields fight because it impacts what I'm going to say about the start of the Baumgardner fight. I absolutely love the ring entrances. Those ring entrances reminded me of living in America. Huh? Apollo Creed coming in the ring. To James Brown. And obviously Clarissa came in with the old Apollo Creed, red, white, and blue striped shorts. But give credit, I thought the Savannah Marshall entrance was fire. She had that arena just rocking when she came in. Savannah, obviously, I thought her entrance was on point, the little dance. Michaela Mayer, her and her crew came in. The All Red Girls came in. Boom! And then, what can I say about Alicia? Alicia just, wow. I mean, there is a lot of bias on the Alicia front because she is stunningly beautiful. But the entrance and the costume just looked fire. Like you just saw this little all shiny diamondy effect coming in, and it was like the music was on point, and she came in just looking $1,000,000. But all four of those guys, in fact, a few of the other undercard guys, I think it was Katie Artinstall came in with marching drums, and some others came in with some really interesting entrances. But those entrances were fire. So before the fight even came on, I put it in the video that Base was talking over. There was a lot of hostilities going on at the pre-fight conference and at the weigh-in. It just salivated the appetite for that particular fight because, as you know, a unification fight, 4 belts on the line, it just seemed like, wow, this is going to be a potential top fight of the night. This looked like it could be better than Shields versus Marshall. And unfortunately, it didn't. But it was still a very good fight, very technical. Shields, Alicia didn't quite do as much work as I expected her to. Maya did exactly what I expected her to do. She probably didn't expect the fire back that she got, because she didn't seem to have an alternate or a way of defending against Baumgardner's rampages. When Baumgardner decided, you know what, I'm throwing that overhand under, combination, boom, boom, to your jab, she didn't seem to know what to do. So Baumgardner gets a lot of success. Again, as I said with the previous fight, with the timing shots. Great work. Again, I take my hat off. Tony Harrison, he concocted a great fight plan. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Michaela Mayer had won the fight. From my viewpoint, I thought she had done enough work with the long shots to win the fight. It looked like a very close fight. I don't think it was any more than a 6-4 win for Michaela Mayer from my point of view at the time. But like Base said, I was overjoyed that Alicia Baumgardner came home with the W. Now, of course, when you get home and you get a chance to rewatch some of the stuff that you were obscured on your vision with some of it, it was like, oh, hang on a second. She's landing a lot more credit for. Specific rounds that I was thinking Maya was winning actually were quite close. And in fact, 1 or 2 made me rethink that actually Baumgardner was easily in a 5-5 fight or might have won it 6-4. Obviously, as somebody else I think puts in the chat, the bedroom bias comes into play. So I'm going to say that this is a fight that I wouldn't be surprised if people think that Michaela Mayer won. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a draw. And obviously the fact that it was a split decision tells you all you need to know. It was a very close fight. It could have swung either way. As I said, at the time when the fight was live, from my vantage point, it seemed to swing very slightly in the favor of Mayer. On rewatch, it swung very, very slightly the way of Baumgardner. But having said that, I enjoyed it from a technical perspective because, as I said, I saw what Tony Harrison had implored Alicia to do was the timing. There was one particular point in the fight that really got me. There was one particular point where they both decided, all right, let's see who's got the baddest right hand. Yeah? Because Michaela Mayer looked like she was like, okay, I'm just going to throw straight right down the pipe. And Alicia Baumgardner said, I see it coming. Take that. Boom! They threw it. Mayer went, okay, is that what you got? Take another one. She threw the right hand straight down the pipe. And Alicia responded almost like clockwork. Boom! Oh, heavens. Is that how we're going on now? Yeah? And then it happened a third time. Boom! Straight down the pipe. And I think after the third or fourth one, Michaela went, maybe I shouldn't employ that tactic. Maybe I shouldn't just go toe-to-toe on on a right hand crazy, let's see who's the baddest girl on the planet situation. But for while it lasted, I loved it. I thought, wow, how many times do we ever see that in boxing? Where you just go, okay, gut check, let's see. I'm going to throw mine, you throw yours. Let's see who got it. Back down, if you will. And it was fun in that short moment of the fight. But the timing, you know, literally, the Mayer jab in the early rounds, the Mayer jab, this again alludes to my point about what Clarissa saw with Savannah Marshall. I'm going to see tape and I'm going to work out when I see the shoulder twitch, boom, boom. And that's what she was doing over and over and over. But what happened was, unlike Clarissa, she wasn't able to sustain it through the whole fight. So she looked great at the beginning. Her timing was impeccable, in the words of Iron Mike Tyson. But it slowed. And when it slowed, that's when Michaela suddenly became the apex predator. She took over the fight. But then towards the end, Alicia was told very carefully by Tony Harrison, you can't afford to lose these last few rounds. And she came out and she put it back on her. She upped her pace and she did just enough. As I said, I thought she had lost it slightly, but on rewatch, I thought she won it slightly. Let's get into the chat. Hot Pie says, from where I was sitting, looked the same, Base. Watching it back was night and day. So the same story seems to be appearing at a few people. Man Adun 4 says, it was close, but I had Mayer winning. You lot are blinded by the buns. Let's not
bad
talk
thing to
Sky
be blinded
commentary.
by still.
Luckily, Base and I weren't able to listen to Sky commentary, so we were not influenced by that.
Yeah.
So man was watching Spanish commentary. Hot Pie says Alicia got Mandem going mad. Fight Fan says, yeah, Alicia got some good dance moves down the ramp. It was nice. April Hunter was the big mouth underperformer of the event. Going back to the AB fight, I had AB 6 rounds to 4. She had the clearer punches and more power punches. Mayer would have won the fight if this was the amateurs, though. Possibly. Mayer's reach made it appear that she was controlling the fight, but in reality, a lot of her punches were missing. So, yeah, I mean, again, timing was impeccable in the early rounds and somewhat better towards the late end rounds for Alicia. AB had those quick reflex counters like a prime Adrian Broner, both from Ohio, ironically.
Ohio, Tyrone. Okay.
James Douglas, you're happy. I had Black Super Sidebar. I had the fight a draw, but happy Alicia won, especially with that rubbish commentary. And James confirms that the commentary was terrible. Nice. So, yeah.
Pretty much. Look, you know what? We give both the ladies their flowers. Clarissa's got her flowers. Savannah Marshall even gets her flowers in defeat for making it such a hard fight, and such a close and competitive one. And Alicia gets her flowers, especially because, again, she was the only true away fighter on that whole bill. She's the only one who wasn't signed to ESPN or Top Rank or Sky Sports or Boxer. So if anyone was going to get the, sort of the luck of the green not on their side, or anyone was going to get the, the favorable job, it wasn't supposed to be her. So she done what she needed to do. And congrats to her and congrats to Clarissa. Let's move on to the next one. All the next ones, we're not going to go into as much detail because time is ticking and there's quite a few more to go through.
Okay, just quickly going to show some. That's sound.
I kind of didn't want to talk about those until right at the end, but cool. We'll just address that one really quickly. Caroline Dubois, great performance, spiteful southpaw. She throws extremely hard, but she's very accurate with where she's throwing. There are some times where she'll throw herself a little bit off balance, and she did get counted on a couple of those occasions. She needs to check that for when she steps up the levels. But ultimately, the angles that she throws, the aggression that she has, the good upper body movement that she's already developed is going to stand her in tremendous stead moving forward. And I don't think it will be too long before she's challenging for a title and winning one. Whether she unifies at any time soon, maybe not. But she'll definitely. I feel like within the next year and a half, she'll definitely be fighting for titles. So yeah, congrats to Caroline. She's definitely the goods, and she's one of the ones that Eddie and Matchroom definitely missed the trick on out of
Yeah,
that GB squad.
yeah. So out of all the fighters on the undercard, Caroline Dubois is without a shadow of a doubt the most exciting fighter in women's boxing. I would say she's top five in women's boxing, excitement wise, outside of the champions. Um, you know, there's just not many women who are able to do what she does. Put put your opponent out of action, and she does it in such a good way. She's got great boxing skills. She's got that predatory gene, which says when I get a woman hurt, I'm going to finish her. And I have to kowtow to you because you predicted it. And when I looked at the early rounds, I was thinking, boy, this girl is strong. But you were saying, we were sat together at the time that Caroline's going to wear her down. And when she sees that opportunity, she's going to take her out. And so she did. So without a doubt, I'm praising yourself and Caroline because that there was entertainment of the highest order. I got to give credit to the opponent. She stood in and took some licks for a long time. But
Yeah.
eventually, Caroline found a way to take her out of her misery.
And primarily that's because Caroline invests very heavily in the body throughout the fight. She doesn't just headhunt. A lot of the women
Mm,
headhunt. She doesn't. She wants to fold you over so when that hook comes to the head, you can't block it. And that's definitely always been her game plan. You see it throughout all of her fights. The fight before this one, she stopped the girl on the ropes through body shots. It wasn't through the head. She's learned very quickly the head is not the answer for the women. The body is.
mm. Yep, ain't that the truth? So let's move on. Where do you want to go next, bro?
Right, so on the list, I said to go Haney Kambosos next.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this fight in itself doesn't need as much
Now that you've conquered the world twice, will you stay in this weight division?
Yeah, we got to go back, talk to my team, talk to my dad, talk to Bob Arum, and see what's next. But I felt good in there. Like I said, 135 is not easy for me to make.
At the end of that, which
I'm
affected some of the sound, but
I'm
hopefully you
hoping
got
people
just
heard what I was saying beforehand. I hope you lot did. Anyway, look, what I was gonna say, like I was saying, George Kambosos was like I said, he was switching from southpaw to the orthodox to southpaw and then back to orthodox without initiating any attacks, making it a wasted movement. But he kept doing it just consistently, and he got hit with the backhand as a result numerous times. You know, Haney's like, settle yourself down, behave. Like that's not your game plan. And then after the first round, Haney just realized, like, you know what, I can spare him. I will, as Chris Andre would say, shout out to Chris. I hope he's watching. If not, I'm going to send him this video. He would say Devin Haney was the spearman in this fight, and you know, Kambosos was the swordsman. So as long as Devin kept him at range, being the naturally like rangier fighter, slightly taller fighter, it always meant that he had the natural advantage. He was just getting hit with the jab. He was getting popped with 1-2s, and then Devin was even rolling and swinging back on his heels to prevent Kambosos when he was trying to counter punch him, and then coming back with like left arcing uppercuts and then strong right hooks. As you can see there, punches landed. It just showed you like what Devin was about all night. He's like, all right, I'm going to sit in this fight and I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to take it to you. Now, Kambosos he's a warrior. He's got a good chin. So I will definitely say that I thought Devin was actually going to be able to get rid of him this time prior to obviously seeing the scales. Then I said, no, he's just going to outpoint him again, but he's probably going to be a lot more, sort of more of the same, but it might be more of an entertaining fight, which ultimately it was. Tony, you go, because again, it was a masterclass from Devin. He took away everything Kambosos done, same as he did last time, and he just made it a lot more emphatic with playing more of the backhand. What did you see from the fight?
So, number one, what the hell was George Kambosos doing with his feet? Switching southpaw orthodox. I mean, there's a thing in boxing called shifting. Yeah? The classic exponent of shifting, Roberto Duran, Triple G. What the hell Kambosos was doing in that fight, God only knows. Because his footwork was atrocious. I mean, his corner at some point told him stop doing it. And he still kept doing it. Because he obviously had trained to try to be more elusive by switching guard. But it was not working. What he learned to do was create easy opportunities for Devin Haney. Devin must have thought to himself, rotted, my man just wants to put his head where I can hit it easy. Literally, take that and I'm gone. Kapow! Take that and I'm gone. It was awful. Devin Haney put on a masterclass. It was a thing of beauty, as I alluded to. He looked Floyd-like. If ever I've seen a guy look Floyd-like, his like dancing around George's punches was balletic. It was properly balletic. He was like on his toes, just going, you can't hit me. You know, it was just like poetry in motion. However, as much as I like to say Devin Haney looks the dream, I have to put a lot of the blame on why that fight was so easy on George Ferocious Kambosos, who was not so ferocious this time round. He was better suited just going with what he did last time, staying in an orthodox pose and just throwing more punches, moving his head more. But that switching feet, that was a disaster, my friend. Your trainer needs to be told you implored your fighter a strategy which was a complete kamikaze. That's what that was. That was kamikaze. Literally. You should have read into round 3. Like, my boy, stop that. That strategy ain't working. Because every time you step into that southpaw, he's just going, clock, and dancing away for fun. And then he could read where your movement was going to be, and he's just stepping in, pow, pow, with the left hook following. And then he moves, and it pivots, and he's on the side of you, and you don't know where the hell he is. How many times did Devin Haney end up behind George Kambosos? Literally behind him. Adrian Broner special. That footwork of Haney was masterful. The punch selection, a thing of beauty. I just can't say how impressed I was. I watched the fight, and as soon as I finished, I was like, wow, my weekend has truly been great. I have watched some absolutely amazing boxing. I've watched the women put on a show of supreme excellence. I saw Deontay Wilder do something which we'll talk about later. I saw Caleb Plant, and then I saw this guy put on an absolute masterclass. Anyway, I've run out of superlatives. Let's get into the chat. He got hit with that 1-2 all night. Yeah. Haney was Haneying, basically. The switching was pointless, as when he moved into the southpaw stance, he did nothing. Was impressed with Haney showing he had the ability to get dirty, aggressive, and not just put on a pretty points win. He didn't even have to. He literally just boxed that guy's head off all night. Yeah, he threw some bad intention punches and sat down more on his punches this fight than he did last time, but there was nothing coming back. He literally danced around the punches. 72 punches to 65. That's nearly triple the output. Jeez. When he was switching and was square on, Haney caught him good quite a few times, straight down the middle. Yep. See, so everybody else saw what I saw. Sorry, Mr. Riri, can't hear anything when the video was frozen because that one had sound. I forgot that I put a little clip of the sound on the end of that one. Damien Cowie says, I like the increased aggressiveness from Haney this fight, but the power is still lacking. Maybe a move up to 140 and his body maturing will help bring some more power. Exactly what Base said. It's the art of war. Kambosos will win the trilogy.
You gotta love you, man. Are done for. It's lovely. I mean, you never know.
That there'll be no trilogy, my friend. There'll be no trilogy. I don't know what Top Rank have got lined up for Devin Haney with the last of their 3-fight deal with him.
Well, the thing is, from what I've heard, it's not technically a 3-fight deal. It was the 2 fights with an option on the third. So
okay.
Haney can get offers, and then they can choose to match it, or offer him something as well, and then he doesn't have to take it. That's what I heard. It was. So if that's the case, then he could be scot-free right now, but we don't know.
So just to talk to KO Boxing Vibe, Haney versus Tank looks like it's a while away, because looks like Tank has now agreed with Ryan Garcia to that fight. So
and then has a court date afterwards.
Yeah. I don't see Haney hanging around for Tank though. That's the issue.
Remember, I said to you about a month and I said to you 2 months ago, if they're gonna do it, they can do it at 140. Tank's been up there, Haney's going up there. If you really want that fight, that's where it's gonna happen. I don't
see Tank doing that. I don't see it. I think his immediate future right now is at 135. I think when Haney moves up, Tank becomes the apex predator at 135. My personal view. Maestro will tell you, I always talk up Tank. I love Tank. Obviously, the division becomes very complicated because we also have the master showman in Shakur Stevenson.
I think he becomes the apex predator at 135.
We'll agree to differ on that, because I do believe Shakur versus Tank is the fight of fights. It's a generational fight. It's Leonard versus Hearns. It is a remake. Leonard Hearns. It could be a triple fight. It could be a trilogy. It would be amazing. But I honestly think Haney sticks around for the one fight. If Top Rank are willing to do what it takes to keep him for that one more fight, and they want Loma. I think Bob Arum's favorite is Loma. Then that's the fight that will happen next. If not, he goes up to 140, and there's a bunch of fights up there. We know that. We talked about this in our group chat. There are a whole host of fights at 140, especially with the titles now being split. But yeah, I've cleaned out the division. I'm the undisputed. I can now go up and get undisputed at another weight. Why hang around? The Loma fight is a great fight for the fight purist, but I don't think it sells. So I don't think it's worth his while. I think, you know what? Unless they're willing to give you real big money, just go up. Because the fights up at 140 will also deliver you big money. None bigger than a Teofimo fight. That's a big fight in the States. There are 2 US headline stars.
Oh, the Garcia fight's a much more bigger money fight than the Teofimo one is. 100%. Ryan Garcia will be a bigger financial fight.
Okay. Shakur is the apex predator. So yeah, as I said, you pick your poison. For some, for me it's Tank. For others, it's going to be Shakur. And I'm not understating the talent of Shakur. I just think Tank is that good. But time will tell. Haney beats Loma, and that's at 135 accomplished for now.
Yeah, so what he's saying is Haney beats Loma, then that's 135 accomplished. Like, you don't have to worry about anything else.
Absolutely.
But he's saying he's not sure if he beats him. But
Mm-hmm.
cool. All right, so now we've spoken about that. I guess since we've done it in the last one, actually no. No, we'll wait to the end. Let's go to the Wilder cards. Which one do you want to do first? Wilder, or do you want to do Caleb?
So the Caleb, I literally have the knockout. So it's 15 seconds.
All right, let's show the Caleb one, and then we'll go to Wilder afterwards. Yeah, that's some good shit right there. Okay, so to give you guys a little summary of the fight, because to be honest, I've watched it once. I wasn't fully paying attention. Caleb has switched trainers recently, so he was basically trying some new stuff in there compared to what he usually done. You normally try and see him a bit more sort of fleet-footed. More of a sort of a moving pure boxer with a little bit of a boxer puncher style once he gets people in a position that he's kind of happy with. In this fight, what he was primarily doing, especially in the first half of the fight, is he kept stepping around. He would keep stepping around to his right when he was popping the jab, which was preventing Darrell from being able to use his right hand, because Darrell likes to throw right hooks and sort of right bolos. So Caleb kept sort of stepping on his right hand side when he was popping out the jab, and then throwing the 1-2 from slightly outside of Darrell's natural field of vision. Darrell did quite well certain times in terms of backing him up onto the ropes and sort of trying to unload shots on the ropes, but Caleb was pretty defensive, was actually quite good in the defense in those spots. There was a couple times he did have to suffer a few salvos, but he was always kind of good at even nullifying, sort of dipping his head low, getting his shoulders in and using it to push the row back so he could spin himself off the ropes and almost take a walk just to get back to the center of the ring and reset. Ultimately, we talk about the knockout left hook. So the interesting thing about that is literally Caleb was setting it up all night. So he would throw left hooks up top, and he caught him with a couple a little earlier on in the fight, but then Darrell started putting his hand up, so to block that to stop it from landing. Then throughout rounds from I think it was rounds 4 to 8, Caleb was throwing a lot of left hooks to the body. They weren't really really heavy, but he kept just throwing them downstairs, and he was mixing the left hook with straight rights straight after. So to make Darrell read that pattern, and that was, I think, that's the pattern that Darrell had in his mind. So in that last, in the 8th round, I think he threw a couple of left hooks up to the top again, but he kept throwing them along with the right. He kept throwing the right after, and then angling himself out. After that, obviously now what he's done in the 9th round, right at the end of the 9th round, funny enough, when they're starting getting a bit tired and Darrell's actually been popped with a bit more, he steps in and he throws that left to the body. He doesn't even throw it with full power, but he throws it, and then as he's and he dips his knees down, and as he's actually coming up, what he'd done, which I think a lot of people saw, he paused because he was initially going to swing straight away for the left hook, but you could almost see him. He turned his body, and then he paused, and then as he was starting to come up, Darrell's hand started to come down because Darrell was getting ready to counter, and that's when he let the shot go in the middle of Darrell's hand, coming just underneath his chin, as he was getting ready to throw it out, and that's when the shot landed. And as we see, like, it was good night. But that little pause he done was elite, because initially you can see that he was gonna throw it and managed to stop his body from moving just enough until that shot was perfect, because you also, as I said, you saw him turn his body into it ever so slightly, and he was about to swing and he stops, and then it's almost like it's a split second. It's almost less than half a second the stop happened, but that was all it took for Darrell to get comfortable, thinking the right was about to come next. And then that's how he managed to get him out of there. Good night, dig that grave, career over, and that's what we saw. Uh, what do you think, Tony? Anything different to add to that?
So you mentioned that Caleb Plant changed trainer, and I could tell he's boxing way better. I mean, he just, in his last set of fights, I think he's flattered to deceive. His boxing skills are not being what I would consider to be on point with his record. I mean, he's a good fighter, no doubt. He's very strong. He's very, capable in some ways. But I don't think his boxing skill was really something that you'd go, there's a great boxer. Whereas in this fight, there was great boxing skill. Bearing in mind he was the shorter guy, he had a shorter reach than Darrell.
They had the same reach, I think.
No, Darrell's got a longer reach, because I put it on that. I was looking at the stats on that picture that I put up about reach. See, look, and that's not a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, Caleb Plant showed a much better jab. He used his jab really well in this fight. He did, everything came off the jab, and you know how I talk about a jab quite a lot in discussing boxing. Because as a coach, you can't get any better than when you have a fighter who's a very effective jab. It sets everything up, literally everything. So, he used his jab, he wore his man down, and then he delivered the hammer. Sweet Hands was Sweet Hands in that fight. He looked good, he delivered the punishment, and he took out his man in a brutal fashion. And let's not talk about the yeah, I mean, the boys last night on Tuesday Night Smoke, they talked about Darrell mouthing off about, I ain't gonna let no white man beat me. And lo and behold, he got sparked flat out. My man was like, so well done, Caleb Plant. Look forward to seeing him in with, one of the big boys, Charlo, Benavides, whoever. But yeah,
Well,
my
that match
boys.
was an eliminator for the WBC. So since Benavidez now has the interim, he either fights Benavidez or Charlo next.
Yeah,
So good stuff.
good stuff indeed.
All right. So look, guys, with regards to this next one, there is no technical analysis to give you. Like Robert Helenius did nothing in the fight. Deontay Wilder didn't do anything in the fight. I know that we had some of the comments, but I just want to sort of get through this really quick because there was literally nothing that happened. Deontay Wilder threw and he connected with 3 punches in the whole round. Helenius, I think, connected with 5, and he got caught. He got caught falling over his front foot. Stepped, is popped up with his arms outside of a guard position. He gets hit with almost like the palm of Deontay Wilder's fist as a short punch coming off the rope, so getting that momentum off the ropes, falling straight into the shot, and that was pretty much all we wrote. He's chinny, and as you can see, yeah, the chin got blasted. It got ended, and he's finally he's called it a career. So yeah, that's all I care to say about it. Tony, what would you want to say?
So it's good to see Deontay back. It's interesting he lost 2 stone for that fight since his last fight with Tyson Fury. It's a shame that the fight ended the way it did. I'm really confused. I'm really confused. It's like the Ali Phantom punch against Sonny Liston. Did Sonny throw the fight? To this day, nobody knows. Did Sonny throw the fight? The rumor is Mafia paid him off to throw the fight, but Ali says that anchor punch. It's just gonna divide opinion. I reckon. I think there's a lot of people, as you know. I think you sent me, or it might have been Maestro who sent me Joe Habib's.
He sent it to me. I haven't watched. I was meant to watch it earlier.
Yeah.
I was watching the boxing instead, so I'm gonna watch that when we finish.
Yeah. So it's literally a case of I'm not convinced, and I need to see more of it. I just, but the fact that he's back is great because I like Deontay Wilder. I think he's great for the sport. I think it's good that you've got, decent competition in the heavyweight division. It would be amazing to see him in against Joe Joyce. It would be good to see him in against Andy Ruiz. The heavyweight division looks lively with Deontay Wilder in it. So long may it reign. Let's see where he goes next.
Okay, right. So guys, that's pretty much the end of the main one. So now I was going to do some shout outs, right? So Caroline was going to be the first one, but obviously she's actually no. You know what? If you want to read any of the chat, I don't want to be disrespectful.
In relation to usually when guys get crap moving forward and KO, they fall forward, but he fell back. The KO looks strange. The KO looks strange, but the falling forward thing, that doesn't make sense, because if you look at it, he's no way going to be falling forward because Deontay Wilder is in the corner and hits him. He can only go backwards. That part of the hand is the hard part of the hand. With enough power, you can knock someone out with, see what happens. This part of your hand,
the palm, that palm can, that can cause.
Bruv,
remember,
I'll challenge you. Hit me with this and see if you can knock me out, because I ain't no one knocking me out with this part of their hand.
A lot of them martial arts men practice that palm strike, bro. Like that palm strike is
a palm strike is here in the palm. It ain't down here.
That's where the bone is right there, brother.
Bro, this is where the power in a palm strike is. But let's be honest, yeah, that there. I've done martial arts. I've done Jeet Kune Do, so I know all about hitting a wooden horse with all parts of this, that, But trust me, that punch there just looks phantom to me. it just looks quirky.
Okay.
It's not like it was a full extended shot. It was kind of like a bip, and I'm like, really? But as I said, it's going to divide opinion. I just don't think that punch there is sufficient to knock a man out.
Fair enough. No, it's cool. I mean, it's not something we got to argue about.
Yeah.
Right. So as I was saying, so yeah, we gave our big shout outs to Caroline Dubois. Next shout out for the night definitely has to go to Shannon Ryan. As I said quite a while ago, I look at her almost like David Hay esque. She just reminds me of a very young female version of David Hay in the way she moves.
Sorry, I think I forgot that. I did get that, but I didn't. I forgot to take the sound off. So
Yeah,
let's just
to
have
be
a
honest
quick
with you,
look at 10 seconds worth.
nice.
Nice.
Cool. So yeah, Shannon Ryan.
Yeah,
Go
look, like
ahead.
I said, she gives me David Hay vibes. She's building that power, she's building up that left hook. I can see the kickboxer in her, the Muay Thai kickboxer, just the taekwondo. I can see all of that in her movement. I can always tell when someone's come from a kickboxing background because their stance, the way they shift their weight, the way that they anchor their feet when they're about to throw shots. I can always tell. The only person who ever managed to get rid of that kickboxing stance and style that I saw was Vladimir Klitschko. Um, it works for a lot of people. Obviously, some people it doesn't work as well for, but yeah, overall, I think she's got a lot. She's got a lot in her future. If she sticks around super fly at 115, she'll be one of the betters down there. But she can go to flyweight. So if she can actually go to 112 and stay there for a couple years, and then build herself into 115 later on, I feel like she'd definitely be a two division champ like within sort of the next three years, especially if she fights consistently. None of this sort of every 4 months kind of stuff. She needs to be out every 8 to 12 weeks for the next year at least, because there's no reason for her not to be, especially when you're fighting the 4 and the 6 rounders. Yeah, you want to say anything about her?
No, I mean, pretty much reiterate what you said. I was also very impressed with her night's work. I thought she showed some beautiful punches at angles. She showed punches in bunches. She showed a good jab. So, yeah, I get good vibes from what I saw on the night. I look forward to seeing her again.
All
And
right.
as you saw, I got the picture with her to say, you know what? She actually came to me and we were talking about you after the fight. And, she was like, I'll tell you something. The girl is so down to earth. Yeah, because I was talking and she was like, oh, did you think I performed well? What do you think I need to improve on? And I was like, we were talking and I was like, yeah, I like that, because she kind of was like wanting to know, how can I get better? Did I entertain? And it was like very sort of magnanimous of her, and it kind of shows that she's a very down to earth character.
Yeah, and that's only gonna stand her in good stead because she's personable, and eventually she'll get those knockouts that people want, or at least knockdowns. And she fights a very sort of high energy and entertaining style anyway. So even if she doesn't get loads of knockouts, she's always gonna be more of a fan favorite. So yeah, good luck to her. We'll talk a little bit more about that after the show. Right, another brief shout out goes to Lauren Price, because she got the stoppage. Remember, I said to you I was predicting that Karis Artinstall would get the KO, she'd get the decision, and they role reversed on me. she is probably the most naturally talented and gifted one out of the entire amateur team that both Sky and Eddie and Matchroom signed and that came out of the Olympics. Um, yeah, you can just tell naturally, like the athleticism, the natural balance and movement she has is very, it's almost unfair. The only thing that she's going to have to worry about and get and make sure that she constantly drills into her head is to keep her head off center, especially when she's throwing her 1-2s, because the more elite boxers, when she moves up the ranks, are going to be able to time that and be able to get in between her shots, pop her either with their own 1-2 or hit her with straight backhands because she's keeping her head on the line. Outside of that, the footwork and the movement to evade shots to get in and out of range is all there. She just that's the only thing I think that she needs to work on, in my opinion. And outside of that, she's definitely going to be a special one, and she's definitely another great addition to the pro ranks for the women. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally wholeheartedly behind you on that one.
All right, the last one that I want to give us, well, there's actually two more I want to give a shout out to. Number one is Ginny Fuchs, who was the second fight on the prelims. So basically, she's Michaela Mayer's Olympic squad member. Also, Clarissa Shields, they was on the same squad as well. She's older, and I think she's about 34. So like, she hasn't got time on her side in that sense, but she's also got very little mileage on the clock. But if you look at her, she's a southpaw as well, so I'm always going to take an interest. She's got great footwork, she's got great punch selection, and she punches very much a little bit like Alexander Usyk, where she can punch while moving and have it be effective. She doesn't have to plant her feet to move. She can punch in between the movement and then get into another angle to land another shot. Um, Occasionally she was keeping her head, maybe keeping her head where it didn't need to be, or dropping her hands just after a combination, so she'd have to work on that a little bit. But ultimately it was a great performance as a second pro fight, and I'm looking forward to more of her, and I want it to be moved quickly. And again, another person that needs activity. Last but not least, because I don't think you saw those fights, so you might have, but I don't think you did. Last but not least, I want to give a big shout out. And if anyone hasn't seen it, watch the fight. Shanika Sugar Neeks Johnson on the undercard of Haney versus Kambosos II. She was the first televised fight. She fought Susan Q Ramadan. She suffered a gruesome cut over the top of her head in the second round. Blood was literally streaming from the cut into her eye, side of her face. Her white top was literally pink by the end of the fight, but the ref allowed her to carry on. The doctor asked her, "Oh, can you see? Can you see?" She said, "I'm fine. Let me carry on. Let me go out." The ref's like, "Should I stop it?" The doctor's like, "Let's see. Let's see if we can how this is gonna go." Ultimately, as soon as that cut came in, she was losing the first two rounds just because she was being a bit more patient and probing and not really committing. All of a sudden, game plan switched up. She started switching levels. She started doubling up the jab. She started bringing the backhand in from early. She was swinging left hooks. She was stepping in close when Susie was trying to throw her shots, just to make sure that she could nullify and stop her from getting her work off. She was hitting her with uppercuts. She changed a totally different fighter at the after that cut came in, because she knew, well, if I have to win it now, because or I have to do it now. If they stop it, then I need as many points that I can bank. And she just banked them, and ultimately she's a New Zealander who lives in Australia, so she's got a little bit of Maori heritage. So that's where the warrior in her comes from. She was not to be denied. She got a knockdown in the fifth round, I think it was. Susie Q got two deductions, one for hitting behind the back of the head numerous times, the other one for hitting on the break after which she done a couple times in the fight as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen that fight, definitely go watch that fight. And she fights at super bantamweight, so she's a 122 fighter, which means that she's a little bit too big for um Ebony Bridges, but she's just in the right space for Eddie Scotney. So that would be a fight I'd love to see in the future. I definitely would love for Eddie to sign her to Matchroom Australia, or bring her over to the US, bring her to the UK, like that. She's definitely someone that needs more exposure. Yeah, great fighter. She's only getting better. 27 years old, so there's plenty of time to and like I said, she's a warrior, because if you haven't seen the cut is vicious, and she survived that crisis and went to work on her opponent. So yeah, uh that pretty much concludes the end of the show. Tony's gonna.
Oh, whoa, whoa,
Oh,
whoa,
got
whoa!
more.
One last one. One
Ooh,
last one.
bonus
A
round.
little
What's
bit of
we got?
150 seconds. Liam Powell.
Dude, you was doing all that talking, and we didn't hear none of it.
Oh, sorry, sorry. So yeah, that was
I
Liam
forgot about that.
Jarvis.
Yeah.
That was Liam Jarvis on Saturday
No,
morning,
Liam
live from
Parrow,
Australia.
Brock Jarvis.
Sorry, Liam Parrow and Brock Jarvis. Yeah, that was nice. The undercard of that had some mad fight, a 9-0 seasoned fighter fighting a
Jalen Tate.
debutant,
Yep.
which was, I mean, I was saying that this debutant must have had some outstanding amateur record. He must have been so good that he decided that he can fight a 9-0 hot prospect, and that didn't work out for him. But yeah,
No, but
anyway.
you know what? Every fight on that card was entertaining. And if you haven't seen it, as I've said several times on my channel, if you haven't seen Tapia versus Sacco/Mayweather, whatever name he chooses to use right now, it was a great super middleweight fight. Like, if you haven't watched it, watch that fight. Sakura's he's got a mad chin, because he took some big blows, never went down once in the fight, survived many crises, but he also landed his own big work as well. If you haven't watched that Australia card, watch it. It was fun.
It was.
From front to back, it was fun.
Yeah,
Every fight on there was fun.
yeah.
Um, except, well, every fight was fun except, unfortunately, in my opinion, the Sky Nicholson fight. But I'm not going to go into that one. She dominated the fight,
She
but
did.
it was boring. It wasn't what it should have been, and I'm starting to lose faith that she's going to be anything more than, sort of just a good, sort of a good upper level fighter, but maybe won't do as much in the pro game.
I
I'm
mean, the
still giving
funny
her a
thing
chance,
is,
but
yeah, at the halfway point, at five rounds in, I think I tweeted into our group that she's putting on a masterclass. It looked beautiful. She was just like, she was like butter. She was just in and out, lovely footwork, nice jab, everything long. But then it kind of was like, well, it didn't really go anywhere from there. You kind of think, well, have you got another gear to go through into? And it didn't happen. So I could understand what you're saying, but it is what it is. She did what she had to do to get the W. She looked good in doing it, to be honest. She hardly got touched. The other girl could barely put a hand on her. But yeah,
but that being said, I mean, the other girl wasn't exactly supposed to be on her level either, if we're
no,
going to be fair. But what I will say, look, it was a good performance, but it was very, I don't mind the people that are risk averse.
one-dimensional.
Yeah, but if you're going to be risk averse, at least, like, do something that makes me say, oh, okay, I can pick that out. Like, after the fifth, you pretty much saw everything that she had in that fight, because she didn't show anything else. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of the issue that I had with it. But cool. Yeah, Dempsey McKean got a knockout victory, so that was cool for him. And then I guess, look, so we've talked on that. If you haven't watched it, watch that. You got all the time left for the weekend. Last but not least, I'm just going to give it 2 sentences. Misfits Boxing 002, hosted by Ade. Hilarious. That's all I'm gonna say. It was a hilarious night. It was entertaining. I cannot say that it was not entertaining, and I can definitely see where this is carving its space out in the ring. And if I was a big enough YouTube star, there is what's the name of that? There's one guy who was on that card, right? Misfits Boxing 2 results. Let me go to the results now.
I think
There's-
you're underrating yourself, mate. I think you
no, I
can
know. No, no,
qualify.
no. No, no. I'm saying if I was in terms of like profile, because I'm assuming these people got bigger profiles. However, if I had a big enough profile, I'll tell you what, put me in there against that JMX guy. Like, I'll weigh him in. Like, I'll make the challenge now. Put me in against JMX. Outside of that, we can leave. We
You
can leave
heard
the
it
show
first,
right there.
guys. Let's make this happen. JMX is out there, guys. Go find his page and tell him Base the Kid wants a piece of the action. You, my son, are not ready for that smoke. We got the work coming for you, JMX. Let's get it on.
100%. But with that being said, that is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see down below, as Tony's put, as always, the ticker tapes are down there. Mine is down there. I haven't done any videos this week because our whole schedule got moved a day. So my next video will be on Friday. I don't know what we will do with that. With regards to Salt Puppy, we're not in the same weight division, so it would be called bullying, Danny. So I don't know if I can go after him, but yeah. BaseDaKID, the hardcore casual. Next video will be Friday. I don't know if it will be a basis picks because there's the Mauricio Lara card on, but I think that's literally it. Maybe it's not worth it, so I'll just watch that and enjoy it.
David Adelaide's fighting this weekend too.
Yeah, but there's no point doing a basis picks on that. Who's he fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll probably do an episode, and then to let everyone know, I'm on 98 episodes at the moment of my show. I've done more videos than that, but I'm not 98 episodes. I'm going to start doing some more shorts. And on my 100th, I'm going to do a live stream. So that's going to be the 100th episode. I'm going to do a live stream, whether it's a Q&A or whether it's just talking about whatever topics come up at the time. That's what I'm going to do to celebrate the 100th episode. The subscriber base is growing. It's not where I need it to be. So anyone who is watching, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, as you can see down below. You don't have to necessarily worry about the Insta or the Twitter. That's cool if you do there because I interact. But the channel, the YouTube channel is where I need you guys. I need to be able to start monetizing this good work that I'm putting out.
You man says Base versus Showbiz is a better fight. Is he in your weight category?
I'll do some research on him right now.
You know who I thought would be a good one?
Who?
Who's recently come into the boxing chat arena. You versus Castillo. Good, bruv.
He's too. He's not on. We're not the same weight class.
Oh,
He weighs about 160 something pounds. Like,
okay.
I'm like 40 pounds heavier. It's not fair.
Find a catch weight. I'm sure we're sure we can get it on.
We'll try.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We've had an absolutely bumper show after a couple of weeks off. It's been great to get back in touch with you guys. The content is looking good. Hopefully, the next time, I doubt we'll have a show next week because there's just so little boxing action happening. But the week after, we have got some big fights coming up. So look out for that. And yeah, we're working on something in the background. Well, I am anyway. But yeah, hopefully we'll have some great stuff for you the next time round as well. But thank you all for joining us. Don't forget hit that like, hit the subscribe, go find JMX, tell him a few things about himself, and we'll catch you again on the next one.
All right. Salute, guys. Peace out.